Hey, all you artists out there. I am very excited about our project this week, as I am always excited about our weekly art projects. This one is a watercolor project. We are going to be using watercolor to make fall leaves. And we're also going to be using some different techniques with watercolor and table salt. So for this activity, you're going to need watercolors, a crayon or Sharpie. I'm using black crayon and table salt. I think that's it. All right, let's get going. Okay, so the first step in our project is you are going to draw, you're going to fill up your paper with leaves. Here's actually the one that I've already finished. You're going to draw, and I did mine in pencil first and then went over it with a black crayon. If you want to use a Sharpie, you can do that as well. And I'm going to include this as an attachment, but here are some examples of some autumn or fall leaves. And I also have a page that looks like this. So if you want to, you could cut these out and then trace them onto your paper. Or you could just look at them and try and draw the shapes that you see. That's what I did on this one. I practiced my drawing skills by drawing a maple leaf. And I actually did that beforehand because sometimes it takes me a long time and I didn't want to spend too much time on the drawing part, or having you guys watch me. So I went ahead and drew my maple leaf in pencil. And then I'm even making them kind of come off of the paper a little bit. So that one is coming off of the paper. And I'm overlapping them as well. This one is kind of I'm not really sure what type of leaf that is, but I liked the shape of this one. So I'm gonna do that one over here. And then I gotta make my stem here. I'm gonna make this one behind it. There are so many different shapes of leaves, and we call these organic shapes because they don't have a name. I mean, they're in the shape of a leaf, but it's not like they're a circle or a square. And then I'm gonna make another one over here. Now you have to include the veins in your leaves too, that go down the middle and all throughout all parts of the leaves. Okay, so now that I've kind of got my leaves positioned how I want them, all right, I am back, and I actually ended up spilling water all over my drawing that I had just done, so I had to redo it. It was a huge mess, but I am back. So there's some spots on this paper because my desk was still a little wet when I redid this, so excuse the spots. All right, so I went over my pencil drawing with black crayon, and then I also added some fall colors, which are warm colors, to the veins of my leaves. Let's talk real quickly about the color wheel. Here is the color wheel. Now, really in Texas, the leaves don't typically change as much as they do in other parts of the country. You know, you will see some leaves that change color to the warmer colors, but for the most part, they kind of stay green year round. But if you travel to other parts of the country, you will see that the leaves change color in the fall before they fall off the trees. And they are typically in the warm, warm colors. So our warm colors are the colors that remind us of hot things like the sun, fire. So yellows, oranges, and reds are all considered warm colors. And then we have our cool colors on the other side of the color wheel that remind us of cool things, such as water of the ocean, in the ocean. And then purple down here, this is I kind of consider the violets more of a cool color. This is more of a warm violet, and this is more of a cool violet, but I usually tend to kind of keep these in the cool, on the cool color side. All right, so we are going to be painting, since this is a fall leaf project, we're gonna be using the warm colors to paint our leaves. And that's why I did the veins with warm colors. So we're gonna use watercolor. Now, if you don't have watercolor, you can always use crayon or marker, whatever works best for you. And I'm gonna try not to spill my water this time. I am using our new liquid watercolors that I really like, and I'm excited for everybody. And we also got these new brushes. I think I told you guys about that. I'm gonna go get a messy mat real quickly so that I don't get paint all over my desk. All right. And I suggest if you're doing watercolor at home that you also have some, this is just laminated poster board that I use to put underneath my work so that I don't get paint all over my table or my desk. Okay, so I'm gonna be using 3 colors for my leaves today. I've got yellow, orange, and red. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. I like to start with the lighter color. This watercolor is very vibrant. And I'm gonna combine, rinse my brush before I dip it into another color. Put a little orange in there. I'm kind of blending my colors together to add more interest. If it gets kind of dry, then I'm gonna dip my brush in the water. This is not watercolor paper, so it's really, if you have watercolor paper, I suggest that you use it because this is watercolor that we're painting with, but I don't have, watercolor paper is kind of expensive, so we have to use the cheaper stuff at school. So just keep on painting until all of your leaves are painted. I'm gonna go ahead and pause this and finish it up, and then I will be back. All right, so I'm done painting my leaves. Now I wanted to point out, I used crayon to make my veins and to do my outline, and when you use crayon with watercolor over it, it creates something called a wax resist because the crayons are made of wax. And what happens is that the watercolor gets pushed off of the crayon and you can still see the crayon underneath. And I think that that looks really pretty. So, so I suggest that you use crayon to make your veins in your leaves. Okay, so now the next step is we're gonna use cool colors for the background. That way our leaves will really pop out on the paper. So I'm gonna use purple and blue. I've got 2 shades of blue. One of the purples that I have is kind of more along maybe a warm purple, so I'm not gonna use that one. Now, so I'm just gonna start painting. When your paint is still wet, I want you, and it has to be pretty wet in order for this effect to work. So you're gonna kind of have to do this in sections. I have some table salt, and I'm going, oh, it's already drying super fast. I'm just gonna grab a pinch of salt and sprinkle it on the wet parts of my paper. So you have to, you're gonna have to kind of paint and then sprinkle and then keep going. I'll try and blend the purple with the blue. Okay, so let's see, let's do some purple right here. Now see how it's really wet? Now I'm quickly going to, and if you have a shaker of salt, that would probably even work better. You can just shake some salt on there. Okay. So you're gonna keep doing that until your whole paper, all of the space in between the leaves, we call that negative space. All that space in between the leaves is filled up with cool colors. This dries so fast. If you're using watercolor paper, the paint will stay damp for a little bit longer than it does on this paper. This paper just absorbs that water so quickly. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and continue, and then I will be back in a minute. All right, here is the one that I finished earlier. Now, you know what I forgot to mention is that I also use green as well, because green is a cool color. So if you look real closely, you can see after the paint dries, it has to be completely dry, then you can wipe the salt off. If you wipe the salt off before the paint is dry, it's not gonna create this effect. So it creates a really cool, effect. It kind of pushes that paint away. And anyway, it's really, really pretty, I think. So there you have it. Those are your watercolor fall leaves using warm colors on the leaves and cool colors for your background. Have fun with this. Do not forget to upload it to Google Classroom if you are still working from home, and put it on Flipgrid if you want to. I really love seeing all of your work on Flipgrid. Even though I don't comment on it, I am actually looking at it. So if you want to put it on Flipgrid, that is great. Have fun, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.